Hello, everybody. Justin Stivers here. Thank you all for listening, watching another episode of the Stivers Show. Very excited about my guest. This is my first across the pond guest. Very excited about John Simpson. John, I'm excited to learn a little bit about your background, but we were chatting a little bit before about On Course Foundation, which I know golf charity you started, and as a terrible golfer myself, kind of appeals to me a little bit. And you were saying you've managed Nick Faldo, Greg Norman, a bunch of obviously well-known golfers. So we can talk a little bit about that as well. A lot to get to, but how's it going, John? How's everything?
Very well, actually. It's been raining here in the old city of London today, but it's just scary times, isn't it, with what's going on with this COVID? But we're just having to knuckle down and get on with it.
Well, that's why we got to get out to the golf course, get some fresh air, and well, John, where I always like to start is just maybe if you can share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, my history is actually quite important to how the charity started, because I spent a year in hospital because I caught polio as a kid, which left me with a leg that didn't work. So I had to wear a brace from there till now. And very luckily, my father and a friend of his, who was a doctor, funny enough, introduced me to golf as the one game that I know of that you can play if you're disabled or handicapped on a level playing field with able-bodied people because of the handicap system. So I started playing. I got down to about 7 handicap when I was 13, 14. And it went on, my education. Eventually, I wrote to an American chap called Mark McCormack, who had started a company called IMG, which started with the big 3 in golf: Arnold, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus. And basically, with tongue in cheek, I wrote to him and said that I didn't think he could go on much longer with his company without me, which is. Luckily, he had a very good sense of humor and arranged to see me, and the rest is history. And I was asked to see if I could start signing golfers outside of America and create a business, which we did. And the first ones we signed, which are pretty lucky before they sort of won anything, was Bernhard Langer, Nicky Price, and Nick Faldo. So not a bad 3-ball.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Oh. So that's and I was at IMG for nearly 20 years, and ended up running golf, around the world there. And as I said, managed a lot of the players, and we created a lot of events. And it was great times because we were writing a lot of the sort of, if you like, how professional sport and sponsorship and all the rest of it could work with television, and how the whole thing was changing. And Mark, was the forefront of that whole thing with Arnold.
Was your father a golfer or any?
Yeah. My father was a fighter pilot in the RAF, and he was a golfer, and introduced me, as I said, with this other friend of his, a doctor. So yes, he played golf, and that spurred me on to realizing it was the only game you could play.
Did the handicap get better after 13, or?
No, I was best actually. I think I was 14 when I got to 7. I was about 6 or 7, and then gradually with work went up, and I played off 12 like you for a long time, and now I think I'm up to 16 at the moment, I think.
Gotcha. Well, that's. Yeah, so I mean, golf is definitely, in your blood. And then, so when did you start On Course Foundation? Was that? Yeah, and I guess what kind of prompted that?
Well, what happened was I was playing golf one day, and funny enough, I played quite well that day. And one of the chaps I was playing with, I wasn't too sure what he did, asked me if I would come and visit and meet with some of his people, or guys and girls. And I wasn't too sure what he did at the time, but I soon realized that he worked at Headley Court, which is the British Military Rehabilitation Centre. So I went round there and this is in 2009, to sort of talk to, as he asked me to do, to talk to some of the guys and girls about what golf could do for them if they're disabled. And it's not the end of their sport. It might be for the football and rugby and all the other sports and American football and ice hockey, but for golf, it could be the start. And when I saw what I saw and saw the numbers of people in there and how full to the seams it was and how young a lot of them were, I just thought, with me being in the business and being disabled myself, I was in a great position to start this charity, which we did, the On Course Foundation. And we basically teach golf on a long-term basis to injured servicemen and women. And then the key thing after that, once they've got their sort of confidence and self-esteem back through golf, we then hopefully get them employment within the golf and related industries. And that, to be honest, when you look back, is the key. If you can get them the confidence back and self-esteem, and then get them into the workplace, it's a pretty, important thing to have happen.
Where are you all working right now?
Where? Well, we work. I spend my time in Britain and America, obviously two separate charities with separate governance and governors and trustees. But I split my time, and we started the UK version of On Course earlier than the American version. So we were really pushing hard at the moment in America, and then COVID hit because simply of the numbers of injured servicemen, and obviously the size of America. When you think there are just over 4 million injured servicemen in the States, and there's some pretty horrible statistics about how many of them commit suicide every day. So it's something that we know the system works really well, and it gets them out the house, gets them off the couch, mixing with their comrades, if you like, and realizing sometimes that maybe they're not so bad off as they thought they were when they see others in worse shape than they are.
That's great.
All the fun and the competitiveness comes back.
Yeah. Well, how do they find out about you all? Where does that, are you partnering with military agencies, or how are they? Yeah.
Very much so. And we do these days, where we go to sort of areas where the rehab centers are in the States and here, and we do days to introduce golf to injured servicemen. And it's always think it's an amazing one to go to. We see these guys turning up saying, "Oh God, what are we here for?" Never hit a golf ball in their lives, and who wants to, and all of a sudden we get maybe one of our guys to hit a ball and maybe has no legs. And, one of our guys we use a lot, it plays off 7, and the wow factor kicks in. And it's amazing. Once, as we all know, normally, if you get the bug, but we reckon that in the first session that we have, people hit the wow shot, and then what happens. You're hooked.
You spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Exactly.
So once they kind of join the program or are introduced to you all, what's kind of like the lifespan of, is there a program that they're going to work through X amount of months, a year, 2 years before they transition into a job, or what does that process look like?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's not quite as straightforward. Best by example, we've you get an injured serviceman coming in, and you get him keen. He's hooked on the game. We do these 3-day events all around the country. As I said, we're coaching him all the time, teaching the etiquette, the rules, and the history of the game, which is very important because of future employment. And then they say, "Oh, John, just to let you know, I've got to go back for another operation. So I'm going to be out another 4 or 5 months of rehab. So hopefully I'll see you next year." It's an ongoing thing sometimes, and that's the thing that's difficult, I think, for a lot of them to handle, is they are both physically injured, and of course we have people suffering from PTSD as well. And the physically injured often have to go back and have other operations as part of their ongoing rehab. So once we get them and we get them, and through these days, the employment side comes whenever they are ready to go out into the open world, and we've taught them everything we can, and the confidence is there. And then we sit down and discuss with our partners as well. You know, we work very closely with Marriott, and they've helped a lot with getting us into different places for employment and work out roughly what these guys and girls would like to do. And the great news about golf is, you know, every city and town has many golf courses, and in that there's lots of employment as well.
That's great. Is there kind of a test to determine whether or not someone qualifies, you know, to be a part of the program?
Yeah, the test is very simple. We use the military the military words for what being injured is. So we don't make anything else ourselves. It's purely done with the military. So if you are obviously injured physically or mentally, then you're covered to come in and we can take you on board. So purely military and purely injured.
How many people are you all, maybe this is pre-COVID, because COVID's changed a lot of things, but pre-COVID, how many people were you all kind of helping on a yearly basis?
We call them members, but we've gone well over 500 now in the States. But, you know, the whole thing, America, and we've got obviously a lot more here because America is such a vast country that we need the money more to roll it out. So we're in 11 or 12 states now, I think. And we're trying to raise money at the moment so we can get more of these days out, work more closely with the rehab centers, and also get the guys and girls who've been injured for some time and are now, you know, ready to come on board with On Course and see something that maybe is going to keep them occupied for many, many years to come.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a lifelong, I mean, people who play, it's a lifelong game, right? And you have like you were saying, you get the bug and you have a great day and you want to come back, and then you have a horrible day and you keep coming back either way, you know? So I'm assuming once they get hooked, it's just kind of something they want to keep doing, and it keeps them occupied and their mind off of, you know, the other, you know, problems and issues they're dealing with.
Exactly right. And I think the fact is, the great confidence comes in the fact that any one of these guys and girls that we're talking about can ring you up and say, how about a game of golf this afternoon? And they don't say to you, oh, by the way, I've only got one leg, or I've got fingers missing, I've got an arm, I'm a bilateral amputee. They say to you, my handicap's 15, what's yours? Well, there's nothing like that. There's no other game I think play this level playing field.
Yeah.
But I keep saying it, but that's where all the confidence and you know, I'm basically replicating a lot of what happened to me and what golf did for me. I'm trying to replicate with these guys and girls, you know.
Where do you kind of envision, do you have, you know, just add more people in America? You said add more states. What's kind of the vision goal? Where do you guys see yourself going?
Well, we know the formula really works well. And, you know, I'm sure if you go online or whatever, you can see some of the stories of people that, you know, how successful they've become with their lives because of this. And it is a lifesaver, you know, I'm not too dramatic about it, but it is. And I think what we want to do is to obviously try and get to that many of the injured servicemen in America as we possibly can, and get as many from that into employment. And I think it's as simple as an equation as that. We know what we're doing works, and we know our figures stack up. I think, you know, 82%, I think, of all the money we raise goes to having these events we do for them all around the country. So it's a very good equation, if you like, with lean and mean, and we get a lot of support from different companies. And obviously, the key, I think, is raising money so we can roll this out in much bigger numbers as we have done here.
Yeah. So, I know we're kind of coming up on our time. I just have, one or two questions. How, I have to ask, unfortunately, how is COVID kind of changed things for you guys, and challenges maybe with all of that? I mean, I know at least with golf courses, for the most part, we can get outside and it's a little bit more relaxed, but how has that kind of affected you all?
Well, we've had to rethink everything, and I think that obviously we can do certain events, but we have certain restrictions of time and not staying over. So we're doing them where we know there's locally there's injured surplus we have, rather than inviting them to come and stay for 3 days. And I think the other thing, obviously doing things correctly, but the one that has hit us quite hard is the fact that, we have, once people know what we're doing, one of our big fundraisers is that, for example, you will see, wow, you can see what happens. And then you will say, well, let's see if we can do a fundraiser at my course. And the great thing about it, we can then invite the guys and girls to come and play in that. So people actually see what we're doing and where the money is going. And the wow factor is just quite extraordinary. I mean, we have obviously all different types of like anything, really good, and ones that are never going to be that great but can get it round.
Yeah.
Well, we have guys who have the same injury, left leg high up amputation, never played golf before their injury, like about 80% of our guys and girls, and both of them have now turned pro within 5 years.
That's crazy.
They're playing on the lesser tours. It is quite
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. Are you active in Florida? Because I know a lot of people watching and listening would be in Florida.
Yeah, we're based in Orlando, and we're really, obviously a lot of injured vets are based in Orlando, mainly for the weather and all the rest of it. So, and because we've been there, we've been very successful in these fundraisers we've had around Florida. And as I said, we had a tremendous one in March last year in Vero Beach, which was brilliant. And we had about 22 of our guys come in, and we get we play golf. There's a dinner, there's a fundraiser, and you hear these guys speak, and actually what On Course has done for them and how they're out there. And we actually had one of the chaps came along to that. It was a triple amputee, and we just got him a few last year, and he's now playing off 19 handicap, I think.
No excuse for any of us. That's well. So how can and we'll put in the show notes links to your website and everything like that. But what's kind of immediate need, and how can what's best way for people to get involved and learn more about you all?
Well, with the website, obviously you can contact us. But any ideas that people have, I think there's two things. One is, I keep saying it, but fundraising is so important. And hosting, fundraising days at their clubs or whatever. And the other thing is to look about, possible employment, both part-time and full-time for the guys and the girls. As I said, if we get at the end of the day, if we look back in 10 years and say, we've got them playing this great game of golf and what that has done for them, and we've got them employment. And one of our guys said something which really hit me very hard, actually. And I was asking about how things were going with On Course. He'd been with us for about 6 months. And he's looked at me and said, a happy daddy is a good daddy. And, there was a guy that was badly injured, sitting on the couch at home, feeling sorry for himself. And all of a sudden we get him out and bang, he's got a job. He's playing off 15 handicap now.
Yeah. And
he's getting his kids playing. And it just is an amazing game for that, to get this I keep repeating, this self-confidence and self-esteem back.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. That's awesome. And John, go ahead.
I would say, just to have a look at, we also started an event in 2012 called the Simpson Cup, which is basically 13 injured Americans against 13 injured Brits in a Ryder Cup. And we started at TPC Sawgrass in 2012, and we've been at Oak Hill, Congressional. We do 1 year in America, 1 year here. The year before, obviously last year we had to cancel or postpone in the States, but we were in St. Andrews, and we played every one of them here as an open venue.
What's the who's winning right now? Who's got the lead?
It's actually all square.
Is it?
When you ask about the 13 players, it's just in case, you know, it's a 2-day or 3-day event, just in case somebody gets hurt or whatever, is tired, we can throw someone else in. They're guaranteed to play one game.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome.
Great for them to represent their country again, but also as a fundraiser and for us to spread the word about what On-Course does. And that's well worth having a look at some of the videos in that on Simpson Cup. You'll be amazed.
Is that tentatively planned for 2021 or still too soon to know?
It's the place that we were meant to be last year is taking it this year, and it's the Creek Golf Club, which is about 25 minutes from JFK, right on the sea, up the Hamptons there. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm hoping we're going to raise a lot of money there. And already we're planning the qualifications to put the teams together.
That's great. And so, yeah, when, I guess, keep us posted, let me know, and so I can share when all of that information is up, and we'll certainly promote that. Great.
Well, it's going to be in October the 9th and 10th and 11th, but I'll send that to you anyway.
Okay. John, inspiration, man. I appreciate all that you're doing. I know a lot of people are going to be, you know, motivated and look for ways to get involved. So I definitely appreciate what you're doing. Stay safe over there, and we'll talk to you soon, man. I appreciate it.
And thanks for this. It's very kind of you.
My pleasure. Thanks, John.
All the best. Bye.